All right, here we go. This is going to be a 9mm test and a viewer request. So that is a huge thank you to Mr. David for actually sending us the funds to purchase this ammo and actually make this test possible. So thank you, buddy. We really appreciate you. Definitely a huge help. So today we are going to be testing out some Underwood ammo. So for the first one, that one is the 68 grain Xtreme Defender. Here's what that thing looks like. It does have your nickel-plated brass and is rated at 1,700 feet per second. And for our second one, that one is the 90 grain Xtreme Defender. That one also has your nickel-plated brass and is rated at 1,400 feet per second. So these are standard pressure. We'll be testing plus P next time. So this is going to be a short barrel test as requested. So we are going to be using our Canik Mete Mc9. That one does have that 3.18 inch barrel. We'll be going through our gel. Those are 10% calibrated blocks. Do have our catch block behind that. So a total of 22 inches of gel. Our 4 layers of cotton t-shirt on the front. Like always, we'll set up our chronograph so we can hopefully pick up those impact velocities. So let's set up and see how these rounds do head to head. First one up will be that 68 grain. All right, we're still make to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1667. So rated was 17, so definitely not too bad, especially out of that short barrel. All right, so there is the entry for that one. Looks like I got a pretty good hit. And this one does have that kind of a cross or star pattern more than our normal hollow points, where it kind of takes a chunk out. So definitely not too bad. I mean, you can see a pretty good star pattern so far. So let's check it out from the top. Oh yeah, definitely not too bad. So you can see as soon as that thing came in, really started tearing this gel up. About halfway through that block, there is a huge stretch. It did settle down just a little bit. It did start dipping down. We did make it into that second block, but it did actually go down through our table. We were able to catch the round, but we didn't get full potential for that for the penetration. So of course this one is probably going to be a retest. I don't have enough room to put the third shot, so, or a second shot, and then for 90 grain. So but still, at least we were able to hit the block pretty direct. So at our widest spot here from the top, we are right at 2.5 inches. So definitely not too bad, especially for some 9mm. And from the side, hopefully you guys can see that. So it came in probably that ½ inch mark where it started really disrupting that gel pretty good. There's a pretty good kind of star pattern in there. You can see where it did dip down quite a bit, and then it did flatline, and then we did actually go through our table. I actually found it laying here on the ground. So quite a bit of penetration actually. And let's see, at our widest spot from the side, kind of difficult to measure the side, about 2.25, so not as much from the side than the top. I will open this up later, do our cross sections to get our more accurate measurement, but not too bad. So you can see where it did dip down, and then nothing really to see. Let's check. It went 1.75 inches into our second one before it did dip down, and then you can see that hole there in the table. So wife's definitely not going to be happy, but that's all right. So let's set up for that 90 grain and see how that one does. All right, we're still back to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1349 and rated was 14, so definitely good to see, you know, especially that short barrel. All right, so there is the entry. Looks like I got another perfect hit, and same thing as that last one. Does kind of have that plus sign into that block. And it looks like a pretty decent star pattern. Definitely not as big as that first shot, but still pretty darn good. So there it is. So you can see as soon as that one came in, definitely started getting some pretty good disruption in that gel. A little bit less, of course, in that 90 grain. That one was moving out pretty darn good, but still pretty good. And you can see it did flatline just a little bit. We did make it into that second block. It looks like it did dip down about halfway through, started tumbling, and you know, we almost made it out of that second block. So definitely quite a bit of penetration, and that one is actually facing towards us, so it is backwards. So let's see what kind of measurement we have here from the top. Definitely doesn't look as wide as that first shot. Right at 2 inches. I believe that one was 2.5, 2 3/4. So you know, definitely quite a bit less. So let's check it out here from the side, and hopefully you guys can see that. Pretty much same as that last one. Maybe that 1/4 inch mark on this one, where it started to get some pretty good disruption in that gel. And then you can see, you know, about halfway through that block, about the 6-7 inch mark, where, you know, that stretch cavity really opens up. I'm sure it's tumbling in there, of course, you know, to get that crazy dip. But you can see we did make it into that second block where it did flatline quite a bit, and then there that round is. So a ton of penetration for both of these. I'm sure if that, you know, 65 or 68 grain didn't go through this table, it, you know, would have been just as deep. So at our widest spot here, we are 3 inches, so a little bit more from the side than the top, which is usually pretty typical. But man, that thing did a ton of penetration. Like I said, it is facing backwards or towards us, and we are right at 8 1/4. So that may hit 19 1/4 inches of total penetration, which is definitely quite a bit. I'm kind of tempted to shoot another 90 grain through here just to see what kind of damage we get, but I'm kind of worried we're going to end up hitting these other paths. All right, so I did just check this, you know, side. It is pretty bad. So what we're actually going to do, like I said, we're actually going to do a retest. Sorry, Mr. David, about this one. You know, that round did go through, you know, the table, kind of screwed up our final conclusion on those rounds. But we will do a retest for you just so we can get some, you know, hopefully different results. But there is that first shot, and there is that second shot. Here's that 90 grain, so we'll check it out one more time. So you can see that one came in right around that maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch mark. We got a little bit of disruption. Looks like it is actually carrying some cotton t-shirt in, which is surprising. And a huge tears in that gel. You can see where it did come out, and then you know, it dipped down into our table. And our second shot here, same thing with this one, came in quite a bit less disruption, but still, you know, tearing it up pretty darn good. You know, did flatline, going, and then we did make it into our second one, and it did stop. So pretty good. So we're gonna pull these rounds and see what they look like. All right, check these things out. They both definitely did pretty good. Of course, they didn't expand. It's not an expanding bullet, but there are some good looking rounds. So the one on the right is that 68 grain. One on the left is that 90 grain. So here is that 68 grain. Looking really good. Basically just like your Phillips head screwdriver. It does have some really deep flutes in that bullet. And then there's the back. Looks a little bit different than our 357 SIG that we tested the other day. It is a hollow base, but not as deep as that other one. But, you know, it did pretty darn good. That is the one that made it through our table. So like I said, we are going to retest this one. And here is the 90 grain. Pretty much identical. You could tell it is a little bit longer of a bullet, but pretty much exactly the same. This one has more of a kind of dome shape inside there than like the flat edges, but still is a pretty hollow base. But not too bad. Definitely got quite a bit of penetration. Like I always say, you know, these aren't really my cup of tea. I'm kind of old school. I like just, you know, your standard hollow point, but you know, these definitely do pretty good. So probably not gonna be able to get them to do upside down, but do one time from the bottom like this, and last time from the top. So like I did say, guys, we'll get our still shot, slow-mo, all that good stuff here at the end. So once again, thank you, Mr. David, for actually purchasing these and sending them to us, and you know, making all this possible. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. All right, so there's that cross section for that 68 grain. This one was definitely pretty impressive. You can see you have some really nice splits, more of a kind of spider web pattern that we're used to. than we're used to, you know, compared to your average hollow point, but definitely pretty impressive damage. So I did remeasure both of these. They are peaking right at the 2 3/4 inch mark, and they're averaging right at the 2.5 inch. So, you know, pretty good stuff. So let's cut it open. All right, so here's after being cut. So this bottom is the right side, this top is the left. So you can see pretty much as soon as that thing hit that gel, we started getting that disruption, and it has a huge long path going all the way through. A little bit longer than, you know, your average hollow point, which is different for sure. But you can see we got some pretty good cuts down in there. This one actually did drag in a little bit of cotton t-shirt, which was kind of surprising because, you know, there's nothing really to catch it. But you know, quite a bit of damage for sure. So same here on this top, came in, and you can see there that little bit of fabric, and same thing all the way through. Nice kind of spiderweb pattern. You know, the slicing and the cuts aren't as deep, but you know, they're definitely pretty impressive. They're different for sure compared to your, you know, standard hollow point. And this is the one that did leave the block and go through our table. So like I said, I will do a retest here pretty soon, just so we can, you know, make sure that those results are consistent, or you know, that we can actually see the amount of penetration we're getting in this block. But same thing, man, just some really nice wide splits and cuts. But there we go, that one was that 68 grain Underwood Xtreme Defender. All right, so there's that cross section for that 90 grain. So we kind of have the same thing here. This one kind of has a, you know, more of a straight line compared to our normal star pattern. But we are, you know, definitely got some really big cuts down in there. Same on this side. So I did remeasure these, and they are peaking right at 2 3/4 and actually averaging right at the same. So we got some really nice splits. You know, even this 90 grain, even though it wasn't going as fast as that 68 grain, it was still doing, you know, the same amount of damage. So always good to see. So let's cut it open. All right, so there's after being cut. So this bottom is the right side, this top is the left. So you can see pretty much as soon as that round impacted that gel, you start get that really nasty disruption in there. Huge splitting, carrying a long ways through that block also. The weird thing is we're getting a lot bigger stretch towards the center of the cavity than the beginning, like your typical hollow point, like I mentioned the last one. You know, so definitely pretty impressive there. Huge splits. So same here on this top one, came in, opened up, once again huge path going all the way through, and same thing, just right towards the center. It's a lot wider than, you know, the first couple inches in, but pretty nasty damage for sure. This one did drag a little bit of that cotton t-shirt in as well, and some really nasty stuff. Definitely something I not want to be in front of it, you know, regardless. But once again, thank you, Mr. David, for sending us the funds to purchase this ammo and make this possible. Really appreciate you, buddy. And that one was the 90 grain Xtreme Defender loaded by Underwood. Thanks again for watching, guys.